All right, welcome everybody. My name is Brian. With me today is Brian. We'll see if the other Brian shows up as well. I haven't heard from him yet, so hopefully he'll be joining us. Might just be running late. This is Civil Chat. Welcome everybody. It looks like there's some really good, lots of new names here today. A really nice turnout. Um, if you've not been to Civil Chat before, this is your chance to ask any and all questions, Civil 3D, InfraWorks, any infrastructure Autodesk software that you'd like to ask questions about. This is the place to do it. This is a you drive, you ask the questions, we answer them type of a thing. And so if there are no questions, then we'll just let Brian go watch his soccer game or football, however you like to call it. If you do ask a question, please put it into the Q&A panel. Don't put them into the chat. If you put it in the chat, it's easy for us to lose it or forget about it or miss it. If it's in the Q&A panel, then we've got the list of questions and we can make sure that we get to all of them, or at least all the ones that we want to answer. We might skip it if it's a silly question. But with that, I always like to start off with something just kind of, I don't know, out there, something to get the conversation started. And, I really didn't have anything planned, so I think I'm going to do an expression. So just recently, let me see, let me open up, let me create a drawing using that template. So I'm working with our land development team here in the Canada region, and they had a label style for their profiles where the curves would actually show a little flag which direction it goes. So let me go create an alignment, and we'll go, I don't know, let's see, let's turn the ortho off. We'll go, I don't know, 500 meters. That's really, really small, 500 meters. Okay, there we go. All right, and then we'll create a profile view. And let's see, we'll change the profile view properties here to give us a little bit of extra elevations. We'll go from, I don't know, we'll go 50 meters to 80 meters. There we go, perfect. And I'm going to draw a profile in here. So not surface profile. Should have had this all set up, ready to go, shouldn't I have?
Oh, but then that wouldn't give people time to type questions.
Good point, good point. So we'll set these to 50 meters. Looks like good. Go tangents with curves. And then we'll just go tangents. Something like that. And let me bring those labels in. Did I put them in the template or not? Maybe I didn't. See, let's do crest curves. I didn't put them in this template. I have them in a different template. Of course, I have them in a different template. That would be way too easy to have them in this template.
Again, you're just buying time for more questions, and I keep saying that. We don't have that many questions.
Yeah, ask your questions, folks. I know which drawing I have it in. Okay, so is it just me or is it really annoying that when you go to import styles into a new drawing, you have to save the drawing first? I don't know why. It's so annoying.
Well, yeah, we have something like that similar in the Revit world. Like you start a project, like, oh, I want to put this up on the Autodesk Construction Cloud and to do my BIM collaborate. It's like, no, you must save the file first. It's
Right.
like, really?
Yeah, but I got it worse than you do because I just saved the drawing. Here, let me zoom out and then import it. It says, "Oh, your drawing has unsaved modifications because I freaking zoomed."
Yeah, I hate CAD for the fact that zooms are A, commands that you can undo, and B, that they're commands you can save.
So annoying. Export. Let's see, that would be here. Templates. Then this one.
On this, do you write that note? You need to put your this into your metric template. Add this to the company metric template.
All right, so let me go edit the labels. And see, let's go crest curves. There we go. So I got this GEI flags crest and GEI flags sag. We're gonna go with sag, GEI flags. That's I don't know what the heck I just did. Hang on. Okay, yeah, sorry. Not grade breaks, Ryan. Crest curves. GEI crest curve. GEI flags crest. And GEI flags sag. And of course I messed that up again. Those should go. At the graph view top. There we go. And so you can see what this curve does. Let's see, let's make this 250. No, wrong way. Yeah, 1,000. There we go. And so you can see it adds these flags in. So the grade is incoming here, and so it's coming up this high. Here's the high point with this symbol here, and then its grade is going out there. And so now it's coming, the grade is down, there's the low point, and the grade is coming up. And then I have the same thing for grade breaks as well. But if there is no high point, you can see the high point symbol goes away, and you can see this flag flipped around. All right, bring this back down. You can see the high point symbol comes back, and it moves along with it. And so the way I did this is I used expressions to control which flags are being displayed. So let's go ahead and take a look at that here real quick. So under my settings, these are profile labels. So profile, label styles, these are curves, expressions. You can see I have a plethora of expressions down here. Let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. So I have a grade in down flag, right? So this would be a grade in. So that's the incoming grade to the curve, and it's going down. So that's my grade in down flag. Then I have a grade in up flag, a grade out down flag, a grade out up flag, a high point flag, a low point flag, and then I have the same thing for the text. I'm not going to cover the text. I'm just going to talk about the flags, but the text is the same concept. Let's take a look at one of these expressions. So this is the grade in, oops. Go grade in down flag. So I'll right click on that and edit the expression. And you see what this is doing. This is saying if the grade in is less than 0, then return a value of 0.002828. Otherwise, return a value of 0. And so what this is going to do is we're going to use this for the height of the block. All right. So if there is a grade in and it's less than 0, so AKA it's going down, then display the flag, put in this height for the flag. Otherwise, return a value of 0, so it's going to set a height of 0, so I won't see it. And so in the label style, so this is a crest curve flag, so GEI flags crest. Right, I have a grade in down, grade in up, grade out down, grade out up. So this is a grade in down. And the block height is using that expression that I defined earlier. And so if there is a grade in down, which there's not right now, and there is now, then display that flag. And so I've used expressions to control the heights of these symbols and to whether or not they display. Same concept here with the high point text. So if you notice, there is no high point, so there's no high point text. If I edit this profile so there is a high point, now we're seeing the high point text. And it's just two different text components with an expression that says, okay, if there's a high point, display this one, don't display this one. If there's not a high point, don't display this one, display this one. And so that's how this works, right? This expression was a little bit more complicated. Let's go take a look at that just because it's fun. So let's go to the high point text, right click and edit the expression. So this is a bit of a nested one. So what this is saying is say, hey, if the high point station, right? So we're starting off with the high point station, and let me just recreate this. Right, so I'm going to put in if open parentheses, and then I'm going to grab the property high point station. So if the high point station is equal to the curve start station, right? So if the highest point on this curve is at where the curve starts, then there's no high point, right? So that'll be the high point station. There it is equal to high point station. Then I don't want anything. Then I'm going to return a value of 0. Otherwise, and then we're going to check for the other end. We'll do a nested if. If the high point station again is equal to, and that should not have been high point station. Nobody corrected me on that. That's supposed to be the curve start station. Profile curve start station. Okay, and then if the high point is equal to the profile curve end station, profile curve end station, then again, I want it to be 0. Otherwise, return the value of the text. And then I need the 2 closing parentheses. And so that's what that expression is. So is it at the very beginning? Yes. Okay, return a value of 0. Right? Is it at the very beginning? No. Okay, let's go check the end. Is it at the very end? Yes, return a value of 0. If it's neither of those, then let's return a text height. And then that is then used in this, for this label style, which is my crest curve. This is a, crest curve. And we'll go to the layout for the high point text. And you can see it's using, for the text height, that curve text height. Right. And so that's how that goes about doing that. All right. So I use this concept all the time. I use it for, grade labels. So, I'm doing a design and my minimum grade is 2%. So I'm going to create a slope label that if it's less than 2%, I want it to be red. If it's 2% or greater, I want it to be green. And I do the same concept. I have 2 components, one that's green, one that's red. And if it's less than 2%, the red one is full height and the green one is 0. And if it's greater than 2%, then the red one is 0 and the green one is full height. So that's how we go about doing that.
And you got some comments. Paul said this is genius. And Thomas said it's like labeling structures from low to high. Great quick vision aid.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good one for you.
All right.
And then Paul asked, that you're on the topic of expressions, where else can we use expressions?
Where can we use expressions? So expressions always have to be a number. So whenever you're creating an expression, so let me just go create a new expression here. It always has to be a number. And so these are the different ways you can format an expression. So an expression can be an angle, it can be an area, an azimuth. Well, you can read the list. I don't have to read it for you. If you're just, in this case, since it's just a number, I just formatted it as a double, which is just a number. But depending upon how you format it, you'll get different options in the text component editor, right? So for example, if I wanted to calculate something and put that number in here, right, let me just go edit one of these. I'm just picking one randomly. We'll go to a piece of text. Oh, I need one that has text. Curve data with high point, right? And so all of your expressions are going to be available under here to add them into the value. Now, the expressions I created don't make sense to put inside of a label, but you can put them in here. So here's my grade in down flag, my grade in up flag. And when you choose it, depending upon how you format the expression, you'll get different properties here. So for example, if I format it as a station, Then I'll get the station information. If I format it as a grade, it'll ask you, hey, do you want to do a slope or a grade? Those types of things, right? So that's where those come into play. But other than that, within the components themselves, any place that can have a number, you can put in an expression. So for the contents, I can't just use an expression here, but I can put an expression into the context. The text height can be an expression. Rotation angle can be an expression. The attachment, well, that's not a number, is it? The offset can be an expression. I don't know what else we got here. Can we do a maximum width? Maximum width absolutely can be an expression. So I have used expressions for maximum width. For example, a pipe. I know that, if I put in a pipe label, I want the pipe label to go as far across the pipe as it can, but I don't want it to extend beyond the pipe. So I can create an expression that calculates the maximum length of the pipe and then use that as the maximum width of the label. The gap, there's one that is a number that you can't use an expression for. I guess that one kind of makes sense. But yeah, so anytime you have a number and there's a pull down, that particular property or field property can have an expression. So hopefully that answers the question.
And where do these expressions live? In the DWG or DWT, or can they be exported and loaded?
So they're actually in the drawing itself. So whatever drawing you create them in, that's where they live, just like everything else in Civil 3D, right? So, but they also have to be in the same category as the label that they're going to be used in. So for example, if I come in here and I create an expression so I've created, several expressions in this particular drawing. But if I come under station, major stations, expressions, you'll notice that my list is empty because I don't have any expressions for this particular label type. So they have to be underneath the same category as the label that they're going to be used in. One example is, say for example, that's not a good one. Let's use a slope label for a feature line and a slope label for a surface. The expression is going to be the same. Let's say, I want the arrow to always point downstream. So if the slope is negative, then the arrow is pointing in the right direction. If the slope is positive, then I want the arrow to rotate 180 degrees or pi radians rather. So it points downstream. I would have to create multiple expressions if I want to use that in different label types. And I think, if I remember correctly, the default template that ships with Civil 3D has that expression for that label rotating arrow. I think it's called grade check, if I remember correctly. See if I can remember where the default template is. CNBC. Or would that be program data? No. The users. App data, that's where it is. Roaming, Autodesk, Civil 3D, ENU template? No, it's not. Not under roaming then? Local? Autodesk.
One of the nice things Revit added years ago is you could go up to the file open, and it actually has a shortcut to templates and examples.
Nice. Yeah, so I think is it under general label styles line expression? Yeah, there's that grade check there. So the default template does have one in here. And like I said, it just says, hey, if the grade is less than 0, then return a value 0, and otherwise return a value of pi. And then you can use that in the arrow for the slope. So it's always pointing in the downslope direction.
So can these be applied to things other than labels?
No, these are just for labels. Yep.
A couple follow-ups. Thomas said this is like 6 Sigma level. Wow is all he can say for all of your things. And then he also had the question of why is the high point symbol not directly above the PBI?
Oh, that's a good question. So the symbol here?
Yeah.
Because that's where the high point is. So if you look at the curve, oops, there we go. So if you follow my crosshairs down, that's where the high point actually is. So if I change this, you'll see that it moves to the right because now the high point is at this station here. All right. So the high point of the curve isn't underneath the PVI.
And for the non-civil guy, what's PVI stand for?
Point of vertical intersection.
Okay.
That's where the two lines intersect each other.
Got it. So I think, oh, zooming out, he understood it better when you zoomed out.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that is, oh, hold on, no, a whole bunch of other things just popped in. Uh, yep, yeah, not PVI, got it. That's good. And then Davis Foot route and highway design. I think it's just comment from Thomas. He said it's kind of like path grips in Illustrator, the busier curve of some kind, where that goes at the high point. All right, so I think that is all. Oh, it's a good reference book, Tom gave us there. So I think that is all the questions based on what you showed. So see, your preliminary thing gave us a lot of questions.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
we're gonna jump up to the top from John, and it says, "How is your template starting layout tab set up? I see it is named import GEI layout. Delete this tab."
Yep. So I'll just go create a brand new blank drawing using our template. So this is our default template. And you notice it's called import GI layouts from the CAD system and delete this layout tab. So we have a bunch of tools that we use to bring our layout tabs into our drawing because we do lots of different things. So if we come up to the GEI tools tab up here on the ribbon, we have a whole panel here for inserting layouts into the drawing. So I'm doing a design sheet. I'm going to come under here, GEI plan set, GEI standard layouts. I'm going to do a 34 by 22 horizontal imperial. Select OK, and it brings it in. And the cool thing about this one, which one of my teammates did, is he modified it so that it deletes the one that was in there originally. And so it brings in the layout tab for us. If you notice, it already has fields ready to go to the sheet set manager. It has a viewport in it already, and it's ready to go. We have other ways of doing it. We also have a tool that will allow us to create an XREF of the title block for a project and then keep using that same one for new sheets. We have them for, wait for the Zoom interface to move off of my ribbon. It's not doing it. There it goes. So we have them for figures as well. So a figure in our world is not a construction document. So this is going to be something that goes into, say, for example, a report. So we'll go small format. We'll go an 8.5 by 11 landscape. Oh, we'll go portrait. Again, it just brings that layout into our drawing for us. It's already set up and ready to go. So that's how we do it here at GEI.
Cool. And since you talked about all those beautiful fields, can you cover how to use the sheet set manager versus the traditional way of doing it?
Versus the traditional way of doing it.
I thought sheet set
At this
manager
point,
was the
sheet
traditional
set
way.
manager is the traditional way of doing it, right?
I mean, I haven't touched AutoCAD in over 20 years, and I was using the sheet set manager back then. So
Yeah,
I'm
I was
just
like the joke is like, at this point when I show sheet set manager to somebody that's not using it, I'm like, well, I do understand it is fairly new. It came out in 14,
yes.
not 2014, release 14, which was back in 1998.
Yeah, but they didn't totally add all of the fields until about 2002, I think it was.
Yeah, 2000.
2000, yeah.
Yeah, they made a change to it in 2000. And then they haven't touched it since, except now they're making it so that you can use it with the ACC, the Autodesk Construction Cloud.
Yeah, 'cause I was gonna say I know it was
They got a
lagging.
win-based on them.
I knew the sheet set manager was lagging there, so I was wondering, and I know Thomas he's complained about that a few times. I was wondering if it's been caught up yet.
Hang on, guys. Sheet set manager came out in 2005.
I didn't.
It wasn't in release 14 because I was reusing release 14 at that point in time as well. there was no sheet set manager until, and that's when the fields came in, and that's why the sheet set manager became such a big thing in 2005. Because in 2002
Have I
we
been
were
saying this wrong my whole life?
you.
No, I have
Sorry,
to disagree with Brian because I stopped using Sheetset
yeah.
Manager in 2004. I mean, AutoCAD, and I know I was using it for at least a year prior. So I know it was at least out in 2003.
I gotta look that up because I mean we were, of course, when I went to work for Tetra Tech.
Sheet Set Manager was first introduced in 2005.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you two were using, but it wasn't sheet set manager.
Yeah, no, okay.
No, because I started working at Autodesk Reseller in 2004, and I was AutoCAD
Well, we're in the
2005,
future.
which would have
No,
been year 2004. Yes, that makes sense. Sorry.
I will
Yeah.
I will confirm that yes, I was incorrect on that. So I started working at that job in 1998,
Yeah.
which was release 14. That's probably where my mix-up was.
Yeah.
And it must have been while I was working there when Sheet Set Manager came out.
Oh,
Otherwise,
Simon is correct. I could have been using,
missed it for like
I was
5
using
minutes.
Project Navigator, which was the precursor to Sheetset Manager, which came from AutoCAD Architecture or ADT back then.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. The traditional way is what? Opening, plotting, close. Opening, plotting, close.
Right.
Well, didn't they have batch plot back then? I
I did have batch plot. Mhm.
Yeah, this is taxing on my memory. I think they did have a batch plot, but
Yeah, it wasn't called
Brian's
publish,
all,
it was called batch plot.
Brian's all you know. It's a group of nerds together when we're all discussing the history of AutoCAD stuff.
Gotta love
no,
it.
no, no. We are super nerds, okay? That's all there is to it.
And Thomas just said we're
So
all way ahead of our time. Just so much that we're using it before it existed.
yeah, I like what Micah says. You can tell the vets because we argue about stuff 20 years ago as if it's yesterday.
That's right. Back in my day.
Yeah. So Sheet Set Manager. So Sheet Set Manager is the tool that we use to manage a set of sheets. Hence, Sheet Set Manager. I know the naming is just totally bizarre. I don't know why they named it that. You can open it up by typing SSM, sheet sets, lots of different ways to open it up. And let me go ahead and hang on, set this back the way it's supposed to be. And I'll just pull my Sheet Set Manager out here.
Just of recently, they finally fixed it so you can actually use page setup overrides on the web sheet set manager, and I love it.
Nice. Okay, so here's just a quick tip. So I've got my sheet set over here, and I'd like to put it on top of my tool space. And when I drag it over there, you can see how it's trying to dock and anchor and all that fun stuff. If you hold your control key down when you're moving pallets around, it will stop it from docking.
Oh, nice.
Without my control key, it tries to dock. Hold the control key, it doesn't dock. So for those of you that might not have known that, there you go. Okay, so I'm gonna go create a brand new sheet set here. You got a couple of options. You can use an example sheet set, or you can use existing drawings. Now, we've already set up a sheet set to work with the GEI title blocks and everything. So in that case, I would use an example sheet set. All right. If you use an existing drawings, it's just going to use the default settings. It's like starting just from it's like starting without a template, starting with a template. So I'm going to start with a template. So I'll choose next. And you notice I've got my template listed here, GEI template. If you're like, hey, I want to start the same as that other project over there, you could browse to it down here. I'm gonna use the GEI template one because it already has all the fields and everything set up. You're gonna give the sheet set a name. We'll call this one Civil Chat just because of lack of originality. And I'll go ahead and save this someplace.
Way more original than my naming when I'm doing demos. It's whatever keys I hit on the keyboard name.
All right. And then we'll choose next. It's going to ask us to confirm, and I'll choose finish. And so this is now created my sheet set. And now what I do is I add sheets to the sheet set, right? So you have to have drawings that are saved with the, so hang on, I'm getting ahead of myself. Your sheets are the layout tabs, not the drawing. So this could be one sheet, this could be another sheet. And then we just add those sheets to the sheet set. Now, again, they have to be saved. So let me go ahead and do a quick save as here. And again, the layout tabs have to be saved in the drawing. So if you create a drawing, if you have a drawing and you add a sheet to it, you have to save the drawing before you can add that sheet, that tab to the sheet. So now I've done that. A couple of different ways we can import it. You can right click on the sheet set name and import layout as sheet. If the drawing is open and you're looking at it, you can actually just take the tab and drag it into your sheet set. And that will import it as well. And it shows all of the layout tabs that are in there, but the one that you dragged in is checked. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle both of these on. We'll import both of those. And now they're here. And if I want to plot them, all I have to do is right click on the sheet set, publish, publish to PDF, and it will plot them all for me. Real
Brian,
quick. Yeah.
I was just going to say something really quick for everybody. For those of you that like to name your tabs really long, it only takes 64 characters whenever you're dragging in to the sheet set manager. And if you click, and Brian had the prefix, the drawing name, the drawing with the drawing name, it'll add to that 64 characters. So you may get an error if your naming convention is too long, which I'm going to say it probably is. So just, yeah, 64 characters to describe a page. Might as well write a novel.
All right. And so you can also plot individual ones, right click on a sheet, you can publish just that sheet, or you can use your control key to select several, right click, publish, and just publish just those sheets. If I come back over to the sheet here and I do a regen all, these, you can see the sheet name now matches what is up here. If I right click, let's see, this is the 34. Yep. So I can right click, rename and renumber. All right. So this is going to be drawing number 42 because that's the coolest. And this will be my plan. Hit enter. This is going to be, I don't know, CV-12, and this will be a detail. Select OK. And again, I just need to regen the drawing, and you can see those fields update for it. So that's it in a super high nutshell. If you have specific questions on Sheet Set Manager, I'd be happy to answer them. But as far as what is it and should you use it, this is what it is, and absolutely you should use it.
So Nathan also had a follow up to Thomas's, Brian's thing. Don't also use periods in your naming. So if you name it like 12.1234, you'll just get a sheet set named 12.
Yeah, it doesn't do special characters, so just bear in mind. And
are you talking about in the name of the sheet set or in the name of the sheets?
Yes,
because this was at 8.5 and it came in just fine.
It's more special characters.
Special characters, okay.
Yeah, like if you try to use the foot mark, or if you try to use a backslash, it will dag out on you.
Okay. Yep, that I would agree with.
And I'm still, since we were talking 30-year ago stuff, I'm still used to DOS-based stuff, so I don't ever use any special characters. I don't even use spaces. I use underscores instead of spaces, because anything in the cloud with a space becomes %20.
I'm gonna.
Do you still name your files 8.3?
Yeah, I would recommend people to follow that nomenclature because it's only going to help you, and keep things as short and abbreviated as possible.
Yeah, I agree. Even with folder names and file names, we get some really long ones in here, and I don't get it.
I always love it where people create a folder and then a subfolder and then a subfolder, and there's one file in that subfolder. Why did you create 4 folders in between?
Well, and the file name's the same name as the subfolder. That kills me every time.
Yeah. All right. So hopefully that like I said, I wasn't planning on doing a deep dive into Sheet Set. I could spend hours on Sheet Set. I love it. Fantastic.
And technically you can even do named viewpoints, and those named viewpoints can automatically fill out your detail bubbles if you're setting that all up. So it can get, I forget, I actually cleared out who originally asked the question, but if you really start getting the Sheet Set Manager, you can start getting live bubbles and everything to start tracking too. Mm-hmm. And I know personally when I used to use it, and this is 20-year-old knowledge, but I don't think they've updated this too much. We would add, even for us in the architectural world, a lot of project-specific data in that sheet set data that we could then subtract out. Like what was an overall gross building area? We could add that to the properties of the sheet set, and then extract that into tables and fields, etc.
Yeah, so you can see we've added a bunch of custom properties as well. So for example, who drew it? So we can come in here and go edit. properties. Sorry, where's my properties? There it is, down at the very bottom. And then I can say, hey, this was approved by me, or approved by me. It was checked by you. It was designed by them, and drawn by so and so.
Others.
Yeah, there you go. Others. All right. And then again, when I regen the drawing, you can see it fills in those values for me. And that's for this sheet. Those are settings for just this sheet rather than the entire project.
But I want to reiterate what Brian well, the other Brian, but my other brother Daryl said is linking it to other sheets, your detail bubbles, or even say C sheet such and such, and then linking it through the sheet set managers. That way, when you have to rename or renumber all your sheets, which we commonly do, it follows it. So it's really great.
Yeah, we used to use it for like gross building square footage and stuff because we had to call that out in like 30 locations. So we started putting a ton of properties in the sheet set manager and using it on things like that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah, like
you guys can just insert a field into any place that can take text for the most part. You cannot insert fields into Civil 3D labels. Sorry. And I'm going to go to sheet set. I'm going to go to a specific sheet set because I'm going to a sheet in a sheet set. All right. And then I would choose my sheet set. I would choose the sheet. I would choose the property, and I'm going to shoot sheet number here. For more information. Info, because I'm bored. All right. And then if we rename, renumber, this is going to now be sheet, I don't know, 12. You notice it hasn't updated yet. It does take a regen for it to update, but as soon as I regen, it updates. And you don't even have to open up the drawings before you plot. When you plot, it will update the fields. I love Sheet Set Manager.
Yeah.
And then Tom reiterated Simon's question from the chat. Do you run into issues with the sheet set cannot exceed 255 characters?
We haven't run into, I haven't run into that yet.
And then I don't know if this is a follow-up question, but I'm going to jump into it. It could be a lead into something else. Insert sheet list table function. Any way to have the subset title left justified and the drawing name center justified?
So I'm assuming you're talking about the insert sheet list table from this, so we can insert that in. I think you would just need to create a table style. So your table style, you would just need to have a table style that is set up that way, and then it should work. So if I go create a new table style, we'll call it civil chat. And then you would set your cells. So my data would be middle center. My headers would be, I don't know, we'll go middle left.
I think the individuals.
And then my data would be, I don't know, middle right. I'm just making stuff up here.
If he's doing his subcategories or his discipline categories, those are still fall under the data tab, and that's going to adhere to your data. So you're not going to be able to get something that is going to back and forth because it's only divided into header, title, and data.
Oh, yeah. So
he wants one of the data fields to be left justified and one of the data fields to be right justified.
Yeah, you're going to have to do that after the fact. Yeah, you'll have to do that after the fact, and then hope to God it doesn't change.
Yeah, Tom said the same thing. You'll have to change it after. So I think that's a consensus. You change it after, and then if it changes, you're reformatting that field again. It seems like that I'm always like, is it that big of a deal? I know you want this left and right justified, but when it changes and somebody forgets to regenerate it, is it seriously worth? And Thomas is like, yeah, it will always change. Is it worth having to make sure somebody redlines that to remember it, or is it just a F it, change your standards?
There you go. I like the last part. We read left to right, do we not? We don't read right to left here in America. I mean, I'm sure in another culture, perhaps, but
I just there's so many things that people like do so many things, so many crazy workarounds because they want it to look a certain way. And I'm like, It's not just the time of doing it; it's the time of people redlining it. How many times are you reprinting the sheet because it got missed? And it's just like all this extra added time to do things like that. It's just like, oh my God.
what we've
Well,
started with,
Thomas says he reads from the center out, and I just read upside down. So, whatever, to each his own.
well, we go with the mentality of, is it constructible? If the answer is yes, then we move forward. If the answer is well, I just want to see it that way because that's the way I've always seen it, then you need to rethink it. Because the program itself regurgitates data and information properly, but the more you try to customize it, the more you're going to bump your head up against this. And that's going to eat your CAD time, blow your budget, scope creep, all that good words that, PMs love.
Yeah. And Brian, the fourth Brian S says he typically advises using smaller sheet sets rather than a massive 500 page plus one. Based on the SSM pull time setting, AutoCAD will check the file lock status of each sheet in your sheet set. Very large sheet sets can take an annoying few seconds.
You can actually turn that off, and I recommend doing that because that's what we've done as well. We turn the ping off so that way it only activates when you're plotting or when you're double clicking on it to bring it forward. Yep, you can take that sucker down, and I think we got it at 3,000 seconds or something along that line.
Yeah. So this is every 60 seconds, it will check the sheet set to see if things are locked or unlocked.
Yeah, but I also agree with the other Brian. We have ours separated almost by discipline anymore. It's just easier. And being that we utilize Revit a lot, we actually don't use the sheet index list from Sheet Set Manager. We'll use an import from an Excel spreadsheet that everybody populates.
Sounds good. That's a great way of doing it.
Yeah,
one thing about having multiple sheet sets, you can still reference. So for example, what I did here, I said, hey, I want to reference sheet 12. This label does not have to be in a sheet that's in the sheet set. This can be in any drawing. Yeah. So I could have a sheet from this sheet set referencing a sheet from that sheet set over there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, so this still functions.
Cool. And if you do name viewports, you can even have the detail number automatically be updated as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So hopefully that answers the original question of sheet sets versus normal. I think sheet sets are the normal.
Yeah, I agree. If you're not using, so what I used to tell folks is when you're learning Sheet Set Manager, if you've got a set of drawings of say 10 sheets, I think it's worthwhile to learn Sheet Set Manager for that few of a number of sheets.
Yeah,
around there. Because I know Sheet Set Manager, I would probably use it on as few as 4 or 5 sheets.
Yeah. And you have it set up in a template, so 90% of that work is done. Once it's in a template, exactly. I would use it for absolutely a 3-sheet project. I mean, when I was using it way back when, I was doing TI work for architects, and yeah, we would have a 4-set thing, and we use Sheet Set Manager on every single project, period. Yeah.
And the other fantastic thing about it is I need to open up a drawing, you just double click on the sheet and it opens up that drawing and takes you to that layout tab.
Well, also, don't forget about eTransmit from it. eTransmit out of Civil 3D grabs the even data referenced drawings in on it. So that way, when you send it out to a client, you've got the entire package. And then it resets everything to relative path, even if people accidentally hard-coded stuff in from the eTransmit. We actually use that whenever moving projects from server to ACC. We'll just use the eTransmit, pull it out to our hard drive, and then just drag and drop to ACC, and
that's brilliant. I love that.
Dude, yeah, we've been utilizing this probably for what not Autodesk wanted it to be used for, but it's definitely a cornerstone.
And Thomas asks, does that mean it's 3 sheets to the wind?
Yeah, I sat in on that class, by the way, at AU in 2008, I think it was.
You sure it wasn't 1998?
No, yeah, they didn't have it. Yeah, there was a portion to your question. Oh, dang it! Now I've forgotten about it. Oh well, I guess it wasn't that important.
All right.
All right. So since we are done with that topic, we'll move on to the next one from Thomas. CAD and Civil 3D units have their differences. Watch it when you write out blocks. So if you have an AutoCAD block versus a Civil 3D units. I know. I think it was more of a statement than a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that one. I haven't run into any issues with it. I know there's some, the AutoCAD units now has the US survey feet,
God, I wish
Right.
they would have gotten rid
I
of
thought
that.
that was theoretically going away.
Yep, you are correct.
No.
I thought
Why would we be getting rid of US survey
I
fee?
thought that was theoretically going away, kind of like we're on the metric system. Didn't the government say they're getting rid of that or something?
Oh, yeah, for new surveys, sure. But until the surveys that have been done for the last, I don't know, since 1776, that all use the US survey fee, it needs to stay in here until all of those old surveys
I know.
disappear.
I just found it funny. It's like, yeah, it's great. So
Well,
the
it's
one
funny,
thing I laughed about,
it only came about in 2017. So what happened in
right?
those last 200 years? I guess we were able to. Okay.
Yep. You sure that wasn't 1998 it came out?
It could have
Sorry.
been 1990.
I always laugh because I get people I'm trying to explain that to. Then the Z value, they try to use a US survey for a Z value too. And I'm like,
Ah,
no, there's no curvature of the earth going up. The curvature of the earth doesn't exist going up.
well, the projection does.
All right,
Okay,
what else
so
we got?
Beverly asked a question. How do you combine large DEM surfaces that cover your project area? In the end, I will clip to the desired area, but it's not working well trying to combine several tiles into one surface.
Combining large DEM files. I don't know if I've ever tried to do that. I would probably bring them into InfraWorks. Let InfraWorks create their one surface for them and then use an IMX out to take that IMX file and then bring that into Civil 3D. That should work. InfraWorks handles large data sets really well compared to Civil 3D. So you can bring in lots, multiple DEM files, and then you can say, hey, I want to export out just this piece, take just that piece, and then bring that into Civil 3D.
Yeah, I mean the downside is you're creating a stagnant or static snapshot, but
Yeah, but it's a DEM.
yeah, so you're much better off doing exactly what you said because bringing all that data in, and especially if you change the geometry so it's not just for reference, but the geometry lives in the file, you are now going to create a ton of .mms files that are going to plague you forever.
Yes. I think that's the approach I would take. And then once you
And
bring it in, if it's still a massive file with the .mms file, you can use the simplify surface tools to, I always try to get it down to at most 900,000 points. That way I don't have to deal with the ridiculous MMS files.
Yep. It's that 1,000,000 point cap that it gets.
Yeah, it's a little bit less than 1,000,000.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I just
That's why I
use
chose 900,000.
I love it.
It's probably like
And
998,000 or something like that, but I just go with 900,000.
Thomas says he has a program called ArcGIS Connector. It's a great tool for snipping LiDAR, DEM, and orthotips.
Yeah, GIS applications would probably be another way of doing it as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could bring it into Map 3D as a raster file and then clip it some way in that and export that out. I don't know. I've never tried that before.
What I have done in the past with Map 3D is almost exactly that. You will link to a drawing and then you will take a separate drawing, link that one to the new one that you got linked to your database, which is awkward, and then just clip out the area that you want for the contouring. But it's a super weird roundabout way of getting to it. But I may be doing it wrong. I learned that in 1998.
Chris also actually said that in Revit, or excuse me, in Civil 3D 24 and newer, you're limited to 2 million points, not 1 million.
Oh, nice.
I still think that's more points than anybody needs.
I just know I've been on 2025 here for the last week and am loving the speed in comparison to 2023 and 2024.
The speed when you're doing what? Just in general?
Just in general, everything. Opening times is faster, modifying, doing calculations and computations seems to be faster. There are a couple of times when it does like freeze for a second or two, but it comes right out of it. In 2024, I had a lot of problems with that release.
All right.
Alrighty. So hopefully that answers Beverly's question.
Yep. Hopefully.
And then Kevin has a question. We have 8 minutes left. Do either of you have production experience with reference templates? If so, do you have one standard for all projects, one standard per project, or one standard per year?
Oh, I would not do one standard for all projects.
Yeah,
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If I'm going to use a reference template, it's going to be for that particular project.
yeah. And normally we'll put that inside the project itself so that
Yep.
that way it lives there with it.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one per year. I assume you're talking about like version year of CAD. Again, I would do it for the project.
Yeah.
Because that's really the purpose. It's like, if it's for if you just want to use the standards from the template, you just create a drawing from the template.
Mm-hmm.
But this is for this particular project because this project needs to be different. And so if I make a change in the template, that change would then ripple through all of my all my drawings.
Yeah, which is kind of one of the reasons why we don't always employ that reference template
Right.
because people get too confused. It's interesting.
Mhm. I don't know if we're using it at all at GEI. I'm not aware of any of our projects that are using it.
Same here.
But if I were going to implement it, it would definitely be on the project level.
Yeah.
Cool. Chris agreed. Same thing on in the chat. There was a few follow-ups that I missed on the units question. Thomas followed up. It's when you're doing W blocks, it's hard coded, or also when you export out of Civil 3D, AutoCAD can misinterpret those units that you're using. So I forgot who said it, but one person said they export to AutoCAD for any blocks they ever create in Civil 3D, just for that issue of, hey, we're not going to get the incorrect scaling when brought directly into AutoCAD.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you just make sure your unit lists via Civil 3D or an AutoCAD, that tends to, but I've had those issues where, yeah, the Civil 3D set it to foot because in the options there for your project standards that you can't get to via AutoCAD. So if you went over to your tool space, yeah, and go into here and set your units there, set that where it says set AutoCAD variables to match, that cannot be undone when you open that same drawing in AutoCAD. So because AutoCAD users can't get to this. And also see where it says scale object inserted from other drawings. That's going to supersede whatever units you have set if this is a Civil 3D drawing was generated by Civil 3D. So we typically have both of those variables unselected. Mainly because even though that the unit imperial to metric conversion is international foot, if that was set to even US survey foot and you've got the set AutoCAD variables to match, that's just an imperial to metric conversion. That's not telling you what units to use. And if you've got that select AutoCAD variable, set AutoCAD variables to match, it's going to reset your units from imperial feet to US survey foot. So just be careful about that.
Interesting. That's good to know.
And then the very last question. Do you have a good source for free contours for preliminary design? I try pulling from InfoWorks, but contours look wrong.
Source for contour data. USGS. Isn't that where InfoWorks gets its data from the USGS?
That I couldn't answer.
I think it is.
A lot of the
We
times I'll
all need
actually
to be
go to the
using Autodesk Forma now. I got to put my Autodesk sales hat on because I'm getting this shoved down my face. You can do preliminary design for, sorry.
I typically do a search for GIS data per the municipality or
Yeah.
area that I'm looking at. And some of them have their own data, which could be more reliable than the general broad stream free stuff.
Yeah. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll look for the
Yep.
county that I am in and then just GIS. So here's the Larimer County Geographic Information System. There's a lot of times you'll find stuff here. I don't know. Let's put it out to everybody that's watching. Where do you go to get your existing terrain data, preliminary existing terrain data?
Do the majority of municipalities have their GIS data?
Yeah. Is typically the county, unless it's a big city, then the city will have it as well.
Yep. Yeah, Texas themselves has their own website that's got it coordinated out, which is fantastic.
Excuse me. Yeah. Dr. Cog. Nathan says Dr. Cog. Nobody knows what Dr. Cog is unless you live in the Denver Regional Council of Governments.
I just go to Chat GPT. It tells me everything.
Yeah.
Totally accurate too.
And I believe it implicitly.
All right. So some of the people in the chat put USGS LiDAR Explorer, Puget Sound LiDAR Consortium, Dr. Cog, which again is the Denver Regional Council of Governments, NRCS, USGS, NOAA. Looks like that's all we got so far in the chat. So those are good places to look for LiDAR data, or not necessarily LiDAR data, but just existing contour data. I think, doesn't ArcGIS have something as well that you can get from? I don't know, I'm not an ArcGIS guy.
Oh, well,
right.
that is the bottom. That is the bottom of the hour. We have 1
That's
minute
it?
left for your
Nice.
closing, and we're done.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for showing up. I do appreciate you coming here. And I'm sure Brian and Brian do as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you haven't, if you're planning on going to AU, the classes are now available to register for. So make sure you get in there. They're probably, all the cool ones are probably already full. I will be at AU this year. I'm teaching a class on subassembly composer. It's going to be a hands-on lab. I'm really excited about the time slot they put me in. It's right in the middle of lunch.
Sweet.
Oh, wow.
So your class is not full, but all the other ones are.
Yeah, right. So most likely there's going to be space. Just show up because everybody's going to be hungry and want to go to lunch.
Is this the
Sometimes
first
it's as
lab
bad
they've
as
had
the.
since COVID?
What's that?
Is this the first labs they've had since COVID?
Yes.
No, I think they had some last year.
Oh, okay.
This year they're changing it up. So in the past it's always been 2 people per computer. Now it's just going to be 1 person per computer. So yeah, so if you're interested in subassembly composer, this is going to be a real introductory one. So if you've been using subassembly composer for a while, probably a bit basic for you. It's an introduction to it. So it's for folks that have never done any subassembly composer. But yeah, if you're interested, look forward to seeing you there.
How are the civil classes at AU? Like literally the Revit classes, I had already bookmarked them and I saw it was open. I got to it like 45 minutes later, and every class I had bookmarked was already full.
Yeah,
And the wait lists were full too. It's so ridiculous. Like I think they're like, oh, we're gonna have 10,000 people come, so we'll have enough space for 8,000 people in classes. And then that way they force you to go to the exhibit hall.
Right. So, but yeah, you can always sit outside of a class and hope that it's not full and get in that way.
Yeah, Brian Strandberg said they're all already full too. Yeah, okay. I was just curious if it was all the classes there or just the architectural ones. Cool. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. I will be posting this up on my YouTube channel. So if if you missed something, you want to go back and review it, it'll be up there probably end of day today or tomorrow. And we'll see you all next month. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks all.